Welcome to Dr. K Speaks. I'm Dr. K, and I'm here to help you to navigate through the many challenges in your life's journey so that you might ultimately become the highest version of yourself. Right now, I'm going to talk about how to meditate to connect with your higher self. That's right, how to meditate to connect with your higher self. And what the higher self is that aspect of our beingness, a non-physical part, our spiritual self, that is all about love and goodness. It's the opposite to our ego self, that's about being unloving, unforgiving, holding on to resentment and anger, right? I like the acronym for ego, EGO, easing God out. That's right. The acronym for ego is easing God out. It's that aspect of self that would love to ease out anything that would have to do with God, with love, with peace, with harmony. Now, your higher self is an aspect of your being that's always available for you. Your higher self is in tune with your soul's purpose. Your higher self is in tune with you. And your higher self would love for you to get in contact with it. And I have my notes right in front of me because I got so much good stuff to share that I didn't want to leave out anything. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to talk about how I got in contact with my higher self. And it was over 30 years ago when I did it. Now, of course, like the title of this video is, how to get in touch with your higher self through meditation, basically. I got in touch with my higher self through meditation. I had learned about the higher self by reading lots of books years ago and going to workshops, seminars, and retreats that talked about the higher self. And then I was so excited to hear about having this wonderful aspect of my beingness, because at that time I was a divorced mom of 3, single-handedly raising my children. And the marriage that I left was a very abusive marriage. And not even to mention my childhood that was full of trauma and drama. So now to find out that there was an aspect of myself called the higher self that I could get in contact with, and it was going to help me, oh, I was thrilled about that. And so many years ago, when I would go into my meditation, I summoned my higher self to come to me. And I would practice meditation regularly. And for those of you who haven't practiced meditation, if you start out slow at just 5 minutes, that's okay, because eventually you can increase the time that you're able to sit in the quietness. And the meditation is good because what it does is it blocks out the world out here so that you can be within, sitting with the silence, sitting with the peace. So anyway, getting back to my story about my higher self, I would meditate regularly, summoning my higher self because I really wanted to get in touch with this aspect of myself. And then one day, there she was. My higher self was on a balcony, and it was water in the background. She had on this white garment that was flowing in the wind, and when I looked in her eyes, I could see wisdom. And I felt all of this love from my higher self emanating from her to me. This was awesome. There she is, my higher self. I started connecting with my higher self because every time I went into my meditation after that, I would continuously summon my higher self. So I started connecting with her by asking her questions, because again, your higher self knows all about you, knows all about your soul's journey. And as I was asking my higher self questions, I found out that my higher self had already done all the things that I had wanted to do at that time. My higher self had traveled the world. My higher self had this inner peace. My higher self was calm. My higher self had wisdom. My higher self was already a doctor. My higher self was helping people. And so I said, wow, my higher self is already at that level to where I want to be. So on a regular basis, I started asking my higher self how she got there, asking her questions about what my next move should be. And I started taking note and following the direction of my higher self. This was a phenomenal experience. And let me say, I named my higher self Vonne in Paris. K is my first name, Vonne is my middle name. And because she was me, I named her Vonne in Paris. And why Paris? Because over the years of interacting with my higher self, eventually I started traveling. And I did a study trip when I was in college in London and Paris. And when I was in Paris, I loved the architecture and the balconies along the Seine River. And so when I saw her on the balcony, I was like, all right, Vonne in Paris. So that's right. I'm interacting with Vonne in Paris on a regular basis. And she's telling me all the things that I need to do. And I started doing all of those things. And then the next thing you know, I'm traveling all over the world. Like I said, I did the study trip and went to London and Paris. I won a scholarship in college to study in Africa. So I went to Africa to study. I've been to Thailand. I've been to China 3 times. I've been to Italy. I've been to Greece. I've been to the Bahamas a lot of times. I've been to Jamaica a lot of times. I've been to Mexico a lot of times. I've just traveled all over the world from following what Vonne in Paris was telling me to do. I went to college and got my 4 college degrees to become a doctor of psychology, following the direction of Vonne in Paris. Now, I do want to say I was praying as well and getting direction from God, but that's a story for another video. Right now, I'm talking about the higher self. So, fascinating experience with Vonne in Paris. I just gave you the microwave version, gave you the short story, but I want to say that, you know, this Vonne in Paris, when I met her and she started telling me all of these things to do and I started following it, it was like, oh, I was so excited, right? So guess what happened? Over the years, as I continued to connect with her, my higher self, and follow all of these things that she would recommend that I do, I started becoming more and more like her. By me being a fashion designer, and I design a lot of the tops that you see me wearing, by me being a fashion designer, I even started designing clothes and making the clothes and wearing them to look like my higher self. I was on top of it. I was loving that whole experience. And then after years of connecting and following the guidance of my higher self, I got a great story. One day I was looking for an apartment to live on along the Detroit River. And in my touring all of these different apartments, I walked in to this one apartment and oh my goodness, there was the balcony that my higher self, Vonne in Paris, was always standing on. And I knew that that was the apartment that I was supposed to live in. And because I had already done so much work on myself, following the guidance of my higher self, and doing my prayer and doing my meditation and following God's guidance, what actually happened is when I was living in that apartment, I merged with the Vonne in Paris. That's right. I merged with that part of myself. I no longer experienced her outside of me. I am her. Interesting. Not too long ago, I heard about this concept called quantum jumping. And quantum jumping has a consistent story about what I just shared with you about Kayvon and Paris. The quantum jumping is about how we live in a multi universe with parallel universes and alternate realities where things have already happened before. And when you can connect with it, then you can merge with it. So bottom line was, Kayvon and Paris was my future self at that time. She already existed, and she told me how to get to her. I know it sounds wild. I know it sounds wild, but it's a real thing. It happened for me. The parallel universe, the multi-universe, whatever is going down with that, I had my own experience of interacting with my future self, my higher self, to the point to where I became her and no longer experience her outside of myself. I don't have to ask her questions anymore because she does not exist outside of me. I am that. So I encourage you, if you want to embark upon that journey of getting in touch with your higher self, start practicing meditation, because like I said, it can help you to screen out the outside world so that you can be quiet and sit within and summon that non-physical spiritual aspect of yourself to you. Your self is waiting. Your higher self is waiting for you. If you've never practiced meditation before, just know that when you sit down to try to practice it, and I would say start with like 5 minutes and try to do it at the same time every day and do it in the same place every day when you're going to be not interrupted. So that if you're doing it at the same time in the same place on a regular basis, your brain will get programmed to realize that, okay, every time you sit here at this time, it's time to shut it down. It's time to be quiet. Because initially when you sit down and start to meditate, everything is going to pop into your head. You're trying to be quiet. And then the next thing you know, you got different thoughts popping into your head about got to go to the market and get some cereal, got to go to the cleaners, or need to do this, or need to call that person. Everything will just be popping into your head. But that's okay, because when you're practicing meditation, it's important to not even focus on that stuff. If you could just find one pointed focus, if you do it with your eyes open, just to practice focusing on one thing, you could watch a candle flame and just only focus on the flame. Focus on the flame, nothing around it. Don't focus on anything around it. Focus on the flame, and that could just get you used to focusing on just something, one pointed thing for you to focus on. Now, when your eyes are closed, I would say focus on your breathing, because when you're meditating, it's important to try to have a good, consistent breathing where you're breathing in and breathing out. And you want to try to regulate your breathing and control it. So now when those different thoughts start popping into your head, because you can't control what thoughts pop in, you can only control what you do with them. So in this case, what you're going to do with them is to, when you see them there, not focus on them, but make yourself focus on your breathing. And eventually you'll get the hang of it. So start at 5 minutes, go to 10 minutes, go to 15 minutes, however long you need to do it. And there's all kinds of tutorials on the internet that can help you out with learning how to meditate. You can use music to meditate. You can use, those singing bowls to meditate. Do whatever it is that you need to do. But practice meditation, because once you get yourself to this still and quiet place within, then you can summon your higher self like I did. And once you summon your higher self, eventually your higher self will show up. And then you can ask yourself, your higher self, all kinds of questions, whatever it is that you need to know. And then remember, because your higher self is all about goodness. Your higher self is all about love. So when you're following it, you're going to be following the spirit of love, the spirit of goodness. So when you follow it and you do it consistently, then over time, you'll start to notice your life beginning to change. And then eventually, over time, you too can merge with your higher self. It's a fabulous experience. It's way more wonderful than I can even tell you right now. So all I can do is just, again, encourage you to get in touch with your higher self and allow your higher self to guide you into becoming that highest version of yourself, because that's what your higher self is. You can do this. I know you can. I did. When I first started, I didn't know anything about this. But because I wanted to be in a different space in life than I was at that time, it's like, what do I have to lose? What do you have to lose? You have everything to gain. Your higher self knows all about you and where you want to go, the things that you want to do. And with that quantum jumping situation, it appears that your higher self could exist in an alternate reality where your higher self already did all of that stuff. So practice your meditation, summon your higher self, and you too can merge with your higher self. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for listening. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all the videos that I post about how to become the highest version of yourself. Thank you.